Hi, sir.
Hello, Sunil. How are you?
Namaste, sir. Fantastic. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Sunil. Sunil, kindly look at my appearance and the background, Sunil. Any changes you want?
No, sir. All fantastic. We'll be live in about a second.
Okay, it's going live. Okay, great. Okay.
All well, sir. Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much.
So welcome, sir. Good evening, and thank you so much for considering my request and spare some time out of your busy schedule. And
it's a pleasure to talk to you, Sunil. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you, sir. So I am one of those secret admirers of you, whom you have earned over a period of 9 years, and I always look up to you for inspiration, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Big words, big words. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you, Sunilji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So the format is quite simple, wherein I'm gonna just introduce you first, and we get into the format of grit stories. And overall,
yes, Sunilji.
Overall, the conversation is going to last about 45 minutes at the maximum.
Okay. Sunilji, you got to leave me by 4:50 out.
Done, sir. Perfect.
Because 4:55 I have an important call. So my kind request. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, sir. We'll wrap up before 4:45 itself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. And welcome all. Good evening. My name is Sunil Satyavolu, co-founder Profile. Profile is most comprehensive self-discovery platform to identify one's strengths and also look at the areas of improvement. Successful people have never give up attitude. They fail and they raise. The deeper they fail, the higher they raise. And this is what grit is all about. The most important element of every human's life is becoming successful in turning their dreams to reality. Grit is one of the most important element of human growth and is measured as a part of social and emotional learning, along with the 4 other important elements, which is growth mindset, metacognition, self-efficacy, and sociability. As famously said, every child needs a champion, but how do they get access to a champion? Learn from struggles during the process and not just think of result. How can someone build a rock solid resilience so that they could fight all the odds and achieve more? I am thrilled to welcome true reflection of patriotism, man of values and commitment to serve the society, Sri Annamalai Kuppuswamy, a former IPS officer who served as Superintendent of Police in Udupi and Chikmagaluru district and also Deputy Commissioner of Police in Bengaluru, Karnataka. He quit his professional life and embarked We the Foundation, a non-governmental organization to stimulate youngsters for the better development in the nation. He calls himself as a chief servant, being the founder of the NGO. Sir, your grit story is higher than anybody else, as I have seen, because you have given up one of your biggest dream to achieve your new dream. So, which takes a lot of things. So we are quite fascinated. You're certainly one of the top influencing minorities of our country. And we wanted to know your grit story, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sunil. It's a real pleasure and honor to be part of your grit community. And though you have used a lot of big words for me, but I'm a very simple guy living a simple life. So I look forward to share my story with you, Sunil. Thank you so much.
Great, sir. Great, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, so predominantly this conversation over next 30 to 35 minutes is going to be driven on the abbreviation we have created by GRIT. G stands for goals, R stands for responsibilities, I for influencers, and T for transformation. What we at Profile strongly believe is having a dream is most important, but your approach is super important. And while you pursue your dreams, you also have a lot of responsibilities that you need to take care. And every human will have a lot of influencers, both in internal to family and external as well. We're going to touch upon that. And finally, how one can transform themselves so that they can achieve more in the life. So this is a 4-segment conversation-based discussions, basically. So getting on to the first section, which is goals element of it. Obviously, you have been an icon in this space, respected by many people. How did you even thought, because coming from a very small town, making it really big? What was the structure? I am more curious to know about the formal education right from the schooling and what are the instances that impact you, because through these learnings, people have an opportunity to learn from your experience.
Sunil, I come from a small village called Tottambatti near Karur. Karur is a place in Tamil Nadu. The initial years of my life, I still remember living in that village, having that village exposure and growing up. I did not have any big dreams, just I was allowing life to take me where it wants to take me. It took me to 10th. Even after 10th, I didn't have a clear idea what I wanted to do. So I went for my 11th and 12th, which we call the PUC in Tamil Nadu. So even then I didn't have a clear idea. The only idea I had was I didn't want to take medicine. So I went for engineering. So maybe in the second, third year of my engineering, with a little bit more exposure in a city like Coimbatore and Tamil Nadu, I started to see my life for what it is. So I again finished my engineering. I still felt my education is not complete. I wanted to see more of life. So I went for an MBA. It is in MBA I decided that I want to take a career in civil service. So my story is not very common with other people's story. Other people say that I was very clear at the age of 10, age of 12, what I want to do, and I did it at the age of 20. Mine was I allowed life to take me to where it was. I was just experiencing life for what it is. And with all the exposure, I got better and better. Over a point of time, I felt this is what I want to do. And this is for two reasons. One, I did not have a very fixed mindset that this is what I want to do. My mindset was always a growth mindset. Now the psychologists give a word called growth mindset. So I resonate more with that. I was always experimenting, always learning, always trying to do something new, always trying to make it better. That mindset I always had right from a young age. But goals, it kept shifting. Now, if you ask me at the age of 10 what I wanted to be, I wanted to be an actor like most people. Maybe at the age of 12, I wanted to be a cinema guy. I wanted to be a cinematographer. But engineering gave me something concrete that I wanted to go back to grassroots, serve the public. So that concretization was finalized during my MBA at the age of 22, 23. So this is my story.
Fantastic, sir. And obviously, sir, when the goals are big, the approach is expected to be systematic as well. So what are some of the milestones, or what are some of the tips and techniques that you followed to make it really big? While you're in MBA, obviously it is a big thing to crack because it's from one of the top B schools as well, as I know. And how did this happen? How did you arrive at milestones and then kind of breaking it down to achievable targets, and then finally you are what you are right now?
For me, I never kept a designation as a target. As an MBA or as an IPS, IAS, I never kept it as a target. I always kept certain processes as a target. For example, coming from a small village, my communication was poor. Maybe till about 7th, 8th class, my communication was very poor. So I focused a lot on improving my communication. That was a process which I did it for 2-3 years. I felt once I improve my communication, I can do anything later in life. But if the goal was always to be a doctor or an engineer at the age of 7 or 8, probably I missed the process. So I always kept it like that. Then probably during my engineering, my approach was all about mental clarity, mental toughness, all about critical thinking ability. So I used to take problems, solve it, be a part of the national service scheme, be a part of the other clubs of PSG College of Technology, where I finished my engineering in Coimbatore. So unlike most people who say I had a goal, I always had a process to work upon. I keep focusing that 1 year on improving that thing. So even now I have a certain goal. Next 3-4 years, I want to do a certain way of, I want to live a life in a certain way. I want to look at life in a certain perspective. So I keep doing that. So once I do that, at the end of that process, a new door opens for me. So then I take it. So I know it is not a very common answer, but that is how I've lived my life. Improving my communication in the earlier part. Then later part was more about critical thinking ability, more about socializing, more about improving my leadership skills by being a part of the various clubs. I know once it gets cemented, at 24, 25, whatever I want to do in life, I know I can excel in it.
So even though you made it look effortless, this is precisely what is mentioned in the book called The Secret. Meaning you can't have a target. You want to go from Hyderabad to Coimbatore. To your car, you need not have a floodlight which will take you to Coimbatore. It will take you to certain distance, and then you kind of. So I think that's exactly what you kind of applied in your life as well. It's brilliant to see happening, which is actually written recently, sir, actually.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, sir, when it comes to knowing one's ability, so self-reflection, as I call it, right? So reflecting on yourself to know about your abilities, at the same time knowing the limitations, because in the current generation, the expectations on self is becoming really kind of unreasonable, and because of which the disappointments are really huge, obviously. So on this illusion, they build upon their dreams and which are never going to come true. So how do you think few things that the current generation can use in self-reflecting and also knowing their limitations?
Okay. In the famous book called Art of War, written by a Chinese military scholar called Sun Tzu, a very important quote is there. He says, if you know your enemy, you can win that war. But if you know yourself, you can win 1,000 wars. This is the mistake most of us do nowadays. What we try and understand what the enemy is all about. For example, there is a NEET exam, there is the UPSC exam. We try and focus on cracking only that exam. Because you're trying to understand the enemy, you will pass only that. But the point is the self-reflection, what you actually brought in, that is knowing ourselves. So that is something which we lack very importantly, because knowing yourself doesn't give you instant and immediate reward. It gives you long-term reward, but the rewards are more with you. It is not in the air, it is not somewhere. So the self-reflection has to keep happening. At every point of your life, you have to understand what is it you want to do, where are you, what is it you want to achieve, what are the skill sets required, how do you keep improving that skill set. And it's a very patient process, very patient and lonely process. And people have to enjoy both of this. People have to enjoy being lonely, people have to enjoy being patient. So this generation, it is all very instantaneous, very fast generation, because life is being lived like that, like a fast food generation. So once we lose the patience and we don't enjoy what we are doing, then probably it is like shifting sands. You do something today, you keep doing something tomorrow. So that is very important for that both these things will come only with self-reflection. So how do you get self-reflection? I always felt self-reflection for me personally is best achieved through traveling, best achieved through reading, and best achieved through dhyana. So I do these three things. I travel a lot, I read a lot, I meditate a lot. I do, in Tamil we call dhyana, I do a lot of meditation also. So this keeps me towards my goal. It doesn't make me to move away from it. But I know it's a very patient process. Yoga is 45 minutes, meditation is 45 minutes. So how many people can do that? Traveling is lonely. Up in the Uttarakhand, up in the Himalayas, it's lonely. But these are my best times. Before quitting, I was traveling up in the Himalayas and in the Kailash Mansarovar. 69 days I was alone. So these are the good moments for me where I concretize my goals. I exactly know where I'm heading to. So this is very important. You aptly pointed it, Mr. Sunil.
And sir, on several occasions you did mention about, firstly, for educating people on what police is basically. I mean, you kind of cleared a lot of smoke around the illusion people have. It could be with regards to the physique that police carry, I mean, by explaining their lifestyle, what would it happen and all those things. On the same context, you did mention in one of your talk shows that how cultural differences or how our overall bottom in the various cultures have influenced in career choices for various people. It could be men and women career choices. It could be various other elements saying that, okay, women, why do we have very less police or less bureaucrats in the women segment? I mean, beautifully brought in the statistics as well. Just about 6 to 7% is where you said the percentage is, wherein the maximum cases come for the female aspect of it, about 85% of it. So there is a significant need. You beautifully articulated the whole limitations on why cultural elements are kind of limiting these career choices, right? So coming on to that important element, sir, how do you think parents will play a significant role in allowing their children to basically choose careers that are kind of their own choice, not by chance? How do you think this whole thing can come? Because which is closely relevant to goals. Because now that we're talking about the goals, self-reflection and everything, let's say there are 100 girls who decide to kind of take up IPS. Now, how do we also help them? Because by helping the parents to take a right decision, it will help the children as well, right? So how do we bring in this opportunity, sir?
The one thing parents have to understand, the world is changing every 2 years. Maybe in the generation, the world was changing every 10 years or every 2 decades, 20 years. Now it's changing every 2 years. So fast, so fast. Maybe during this Corona time, most of them have realized with a lot of time at home. So no stereotypes will work. The old stereotypes will get dissolved every 2 years and a new stereotype gets formed. The parents have to understand anything they do in life, they ask their children to do in life has to be with an open mind. It has to be an open mind. If a child suddenly comes and says, I would be an actor. Maybe if I remember, if I tell this to my father that I wanted to be an actor when I was about 10, 12, he would have killed me. What are you trying to be an actor? How can you be an actor? Now being an actor is possible because that stereotype is broken now. Somebody says he wants to be a writer. Now you can do a lot of self-published books. You need not go to a big guy and break that mafia in the publishing industry and make them to publish your book. Now it's broken. Now, one thing they have to understand, anything that is thinkable in the mind is doable in the world. So this is the problem. If your mind thinks, it's possible in the world, else your mind will not think. So parents have to understand open mind. Going with the open mind is the only way possible to raise good children. And no children is going to come and say, Papa, I want to be a good thief. I want to be a good robber. Nobody would say, but because people see TV, people get culturally influenced by what is happening. So their career choices will revolve around the good things only. But if you have stereotypes in mind, we always associate good things with risky things. So we see risk first, and then we see the potential benefits second. So if you keep telling, we go very deeper part of the brain. If you look at the way the brain has evolved, the prefrontal cortex and the cerebrum. The cerebrum, we all know, is the oldest part of the brain. It is always a risk or a flight brain because it's an animal brain. We call that as a reptilian brain. So anything we see, the first cerebrum gets activated, which says, no, it's not possible. You cannot jump. But the prefrontal cortex is the evolving part of the brain. The last million years, only the prefrontal cortex is evolving. So prefrontal cortex is the brain which talks about possibilities. So many a time we got to consciously think through our prefrontal cortex. There's nothing called, you can shift it from here to there. But research says when you get into a very deep process, when you doesn't have an agitated mind, when your mind is more focused on the theta waves, normally the brain waves which we measure in a frequency meter, it has got an alpha, beta, gamma, and a theta wave. Theta and the gamma are the most waves which are more common when the brain is at an absolute peaceful state. It is active during your deeper sleep. So consciously, if you can bring this to the thinking process that comes with extreme meditation or a clarity of mind, then you start making smart decisions. This sees risk very differently. Sorry for answering it very long, but that's a very conscious scientific process of thinking well. If we start thinking in an agitational state of mind, we always make poor decisions. That is why a police guy or an army guy, if his mind is always cluttered, if he's always agitated in his office, they make very, very poor decisions. To make good decisions, you got to give good holidays. You got to give them good breaks. You got to make sure they don't work more. The same thing is applicable across the professions. So it's self-reflection, then it comes with training your mind and understand the science behind the brain, and then keeping your prefrontal cortex active so that you start making better decisions.
Sure. So there is nowhere on the internet, there is a call out on your psychology qualification as well, sir. I think that is something that needs to be updated.
No, this is out of interest. I keep reading. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next section, we finished with the goals aspect of it, sir. Now we are moving on to the responsibilities aspect of it. Now, oftentimes, I mean, one of the occasions you did mention, you have a son, and it is frightening to see how do I kind of take care when you kind of take decisions like this. So how one can leave their passion to balance their responsibilities? How can the whole thing take care, sir?
Now, one thing with being a human being is we are not humans. We are human being. So there's a difference between animals and humans, because animal is not called as an animal being. So human being means the process of your life has to be with a 360-degree view. You have to be social, you got to be personal, you got to be professional, you got to be everything. All this together make you a human being, because you live in that moment, you adapt. The problem with our current generation is we put a lot of emphasis on career and very little on personal things, very little on social things, very little on what we can give out. So very little we do. So parenting is part of that. Parenting, I believe, is one of the most important responsibility of a father and mother, more important than having a career also. Because parenting is a full-time job, but we have made it part-time nowadays. We don't give much time to it also. Because a child, till they become an adult, in their younger stage, they need a lot of our time, because we are their first role model. They see our habits, they see what we do, what we speak, what our actions, and then they pick everything from it. So once it gets to their mind by the age of 7, 8, it's impossible to change that mindset. We call that as plasticity in brain again. The brain is more malleable in the first 7, 8 years of our life. So that is the time they get influenced more. Maybe we might not see it, but that is so deeply imprinted. Even at the age of 30, we can't do anything about it. The father is angry, father is drunk. A 5-year-old child takes it very seriously inside. So you'll always have that insecurity till they die. So this is what I keep saying in many of our interviews, that parenting is a very responsible job. A crime is happening in a society, I would say 70% is because they had poor parents. In the book that Bloomsbury is going to publish about I've written a book for Bloomsbury. There is a chapter on the criminals, and I've spoken on the mind. So in that, I've given some statistics. I've quoted from some Oxford professors also. The brain of a criminal, how does the criminal get formed? Is it a society responsible? Is it the parenting who's responsible? So it will be very interesting read. I've given some examples where most juvenile criminals are criminals below the age of 18, the rapists and the murderers. You keep tracking their parents, they have very unhappy parents, or their parents have ran away, or they don't have parents at all. So this is what I mentioned. So if we keep being consciously good parents, we make consciously good citizens. When consciously good citizens populate this earth, just imagine how peaceful and how beautiful the whole planet is going to be. But if we keep shifting our mind to making that money, paying that EMI and buying that car, buying that flat and not being good parents, then we are doing a big disservice to the next generation. We cannot ask the teachers to take care of our children. Teachers can only do 20% right for our children. It's 80% we have to do that. So that is what I keep seeing in many of the places where I get an opportunity to talk.
Yes. So a different tangent to the same aspect of parenting. So oftentimes, whenever I speak, I usually quote that the pearls or diamonds of our country have come from the government schools predominantly because they have built that resilience over a period of time because they wanted to be the winner. They don't get things so easily. So they have kind of had to fight for it. So they built that attitude right from the beginning. So we also see on the contrary, where the rich people are usually failing to produce great leaders. I'm not saying 100%, but at least if we have to give percentage, 50% of them, one of the finest cricketer's son could not become the cricketer as well. One of the finest director's son could not become a great artist. These kind of examples, right, sir? So how parenting for both rich parents and also the poor parents becomes an important role. And unfortunately, kids have an option to go to schools, but parents don't have any school for parenting, right? So what are few things that as a parent, irrespective of their social backgrounds, has to kind of keep in mind saying that, hey, these are few things, not give away things so easily to my children, make sure they earn it, they don't just get it as an easy thing, right? So how do you think some of these qualities can be built, sir?
There is a very beautiful book which goes by your show name, Grit, by Angelina Duckworth. I'm sure you must have read it. It's a very, very favorite book of mine. She's a professor with the US University. The book is fully about bringing up students. It's about tracking the success of achievers and trying to decipher how success is happening. She says, Angelina Duckworth says, the single biggest contributor for a person's success is grit. And this grit is always built at a young age. Now, coming back to the government school, private school, and the parents, I think it's more than the schools, more than the system. It is a grit that is developed inside. The resilience you mentioned, the ability to take on failures, the ability not to get bogged down by failures, the ability to be always positive in nature. So this environment has to be there. If we can create that environment in our house, it's fantastic. If the environment gets created in a school, it's fantastic. So I can create the same environment in a private school, or I cannot create the same environment in a government school. It's not the school and the building that matters. It is the environment inside the school that matters, or the environment inside the house that matters. If you take some of our greatest leaders like Tamil Nadu, if I can quote somebody like Kamaraja, who was one of our previous chief minister, a person whom I deeply admire. Now Kamaraja has gone to school, he has gone to college, but when we read his biography, for him, the creation was more in his home, where he built all the resilience and the grit. So for him, a school doesn't matter because, frankly speaking, Kamarajar never went to a school also. Initially, I said Kamarajar has gone to a college because our mind immediately says he has gone to a college. No, he never went to a school, never ever stepped into a school. But one of our finest chief minister, only because the grit was built inside the house. So my maybe advice is, people have to create that environment. Nowadays, we've always built our children, keep our children in very safe places, AC car, there's a driver to take care. We don't even allow them outside the house. Now with Corona coming next 2-3 years, we will not allow them to touch anything also. Always go with the hand sanitizer. Now, this will be a very hygienic generation. This generation who's going up will be the hygienic generation for the next 100 years. Always they'll be panicky and very hygiene and what is happening. And they might not give a handshake also. Now, safety is important, Corona time. At the same time, being very, very, very cautious of where to take a risk is also important. So that environment has to be created. That is not a science, it's an art. It's an art. Encouraging our children to fail, encouraging our children to go out and play, encouraging our children to participate even if the results doesn't go our way. I keep seeing children in apartments. Before going to a sports class, they keep telling annual day, sports day. No, you got to wear the shoe like that. You got to run like that. You got to put your front leg like that. If you see what classes that kid's studying, he's studying in first standard. For a first standard child, You give coaching like a Usain Bolt, how to run and which leg to put first and which leg to put second. This is the problem. If the child doesn't fail in life, where is the child going to get resilience? Yeah. So let us create that environment. That environment, let us create very consciously.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So quickly moving on to the third section of it, influencers element. So who are some of your top influencers, both within your family or outside of the family as well?
I think I get influenced by many people. I keep taking good things from everybody. If you ask me to write my influences, maybe there are 200, 300 of them. Ranging from, in politics, I like Barack Obama to Abraham Lincoln to some of our politicians. In sports, I like many people. In the family, I like some of my uncles who live a very, very good and very proper life. So what to do is I consciously study people to see what is it they do differently. And can I pick something from them? So instead of keeping one role models, I have always kept multiple role models. So I always find it a very tough question. Somebody in school and all, you see, who's your role model? I'll be very struggling to answer. The teacher would be shouting at me, oh, you don't even have a role model. It's not that I had role model, but the problem is I had many role models. So each guy used to pick one. So they are my influences, and it also keeps changing with time. Maybe in the college time, it was more about cracking exams, passing and all those stuff. So the influences were more about motivational guys. So after civil service, it is more the government guys who are the influencers. Now, since I'm in the grassroots and politics, the influencers are more from the political side, more from the activist side, more from the grassroots side. So the way my life evolves, I keep updating my influencers list also. I don't keep one guy. So I keep shifting to see where I'm at life and what am I going to learn from them, who pursue excellence in life, take from them.
And sir, how does it feel to become a role model to many? I mean, I saw there are Facebook pages and there are various other forums who are kind of huge followers. How does it feel for you to be an influencer in someone's life, such a large scale?
Sunilji, more than an influencer, a role model, I'm always clear I want to live the life my way, come what may. And I always speak my mind. I'm not always a politically correct guy. So I always keep speaking what is right and what is good. So I've made fair number of enemies and very good number of passionate friends also. And I don't believe in living an artificial life because people follow me. I have a lot of imperfection. I am not actually perfect. I have my own imperfections, but I'm okay with it. That's how I want to live my life. So I'm sure a lot of people who follow me in Twitter, Facebook, and other places also, for them also, out of the many influencers and role models, I believe I'm one of them. And positively, I'm influencing them. And whatever I've got influenced by many good people, I'm passing that to the next generation also. And that is how I look at life. So many people follow me. It's great. My kind wishes to them and my thanks to them. But I'm always like what I am. So I just live my life the way I want to live.
Fantastic. Awesome. So moving on to the fourth category, because on the influencers category, there is a point to discuss about parents. You kind of covered it extensively already. So moving on to the transformation aspect of it, sir. So we spoke about having right goals. We spoke about milestones. We also spoke about how do you build resilience, role of parents, and all those things. Now, how one will look at the transformation on their own, meaning how do I change myself so that I achieve what I dreamt for, right? So how some of the tips can be given to these people based on your life journey so that people can achieve what they wanted to?
The first thing is they got to be positive. They got to be optimistic. They got to be passionate. That's it. 3 things, 3 ingredients. For me, there's nothing more than this. You be passionate, you be optimistic, you be positive. That's it. That's it. These 3 ingredients can cook you a lot of other dishes. You want to pass an exam, you'll pass. You want to pass anything in life, you will do. These are all events. We put a lot of emphasis on becoming a doctor, becoming an engineer. That is all events. You'll become doctor at 25. Then what is it you want to do in life? Becoming a doctor is not important. What kind of doctor you want to become? So nowadays, when I ask a kid, what is your goal? Doctor. But okay, I say at 25, you achieve a doctor. What is it? After that, you will die. Then it keeps them thinking, okay, it's not that becoming a doctor is the goal is something else. So these 3 things, it is in very, very poor demand with the current generation. They are not very positive. They are not very pessimistic. And they are not very passionate. Thanks to the social media, thanks to the instantaneous culture with WhatsApp and those stuff, the brain is not being very focused. So I would always say, keep this. Maybe I got lucky because in a village, what kind of instrument I had nothing to depend. WhatsApp came about 10 years before. So our generation was maybe lucky. So we had a lot of time to ourselves. Some of us used it properly. So I would say consciously come out of technology, and technology should not rule you. You should rule technology. If you allow technology to rule you, it's finished. It's like iPhone screen telling you have used the phone 7 hours today, 8 hours today, like 1/3 of the waking time we are on phone. So positivity, being passionate, and being optimistic. Anything, failures will come, it's okay. Because if you look at all the great people in life, their success to failure ratio is 1:10. Every 10 failures, the success is 1. So what right do we have to accept that every time I should pass, every time I should succeed? No, 10 times let us fail. Only then one success will come. So that is optimistic. Like Lincoln's life, the Abraham Lincoln's life, if you take, his life is built on the foundation of failures. Failure over failure, losing his childhood friend, losing his son, losing all the elections, coming from a very tough parenting and cobbler's son. Finally, he won what mattered, becoming the president of the United States. And his goal was not to become the president of the United States. His goal was to abolish slavery, which he did it between 1861 to 1863. Not only abolish slavery, but also he unified the United States. It has become a federation thanks to Abraham Lincoln. So because the goals always have to be larger, it has to be visionary. It cannot be something linked to a designation. It's a process-driven goal. To do that, these 3 things are very important ingredient. So using these 3, we can keep cooking anything we want. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, sir. Sir, last question before we conclude this. How important is it to let go things rather than losing everything so that you have another day to fight? Yes, we have a very strong will and we have a bigger dream, but this is more for the younger generations. Where do they know their limits so that they will let go things so that they have another day to fight?
I would say that younger generation should also read philosophy and practice spirituality. And this is very important. Both are science, absolute science. But since we don't understand it, we haven't kept it like a physics or a chemistry. So philosophy gives a lot of depth to your thinking. Good philosophies gives a lot of depth to your thinking. Spirituality gives a meaning to your existence. Both are very important. So when we read both the philosophy and spirituality in tandem, when you practice spirituality and read philosophy in tandem, we will understand our life is a cycle. And every time we go up, we have to come down. That is nature's law. Nobody can break that law. Nobody cannot say, I'll always be number one. You cannot be number one. We have to see very bad failures. We have to see great successes. That is life. And we cannot resist life. We got to allow life to flow. We got to ease through life. We cannot resist life and say, I will not allow, and I always have to be successful. No, it is not that always we succeed in life. We will have people closer to us dying. We will have people closer to us having happy days. We will have people closer to us having sad days. Can we control that? We cannot control. It's law of the nature. So this is something the younger generation have to understand. Having that mindset of a philosophical mind and a spiritual way of living, it puts a lot of things in perspective. What is life? How is it to be lived? And am I giving meaning to my life? Am I giving meaning to others' life? Am I giving meaning to my birth? So these are very important, larger questions, but unfortunately, the education system is so poor, which is only interview driven or a college entrance examination driven. The real education is this. That is all pseudo education. So I'm sure parents only can teach it, and by a way of living, the kids get inspired. They start seeing life for what it is. That's right. I still remember when I went for my TED talk, somebody told all the police officers who speak in a TED should wear a uniform. I said, I'm not wearing a uniform. Maybe I'm the only police officer in India who spoke in a TED talk without wearing a uniform. I said, look, uniform is something different. And people should not believe by wearing the uniform, you get power. No, you get power from your mind. You get the power from your conscience. You get the power by living a life that is full of purpose and truth. The power doesn't come by wearing a uniform and putting an IPS at the start. I said, no. I said, I'm going to speak without my uniform. Because people have to understand that it comes from my Atma. It comes from my inside what I speak. So that is how I've lived my life always.
Fantastic, sir. Fabulous. So we now enter into the most complex section of this conversation, which is a rapid fire. Going to take about a minute's time, and you'll have 5 seconds to answer each question. Very first question, Mangalore bun or Talapakatti biryani?
Mangalore bun always.
Yes. And if not IPS, what else you would see yourself as, sir?
Writer.
Writer. Okay. And we see a lot of category of policies in films. Which category of policies are more into realistic? South Indian police, I mean, movies in police in South Indian movies or Bollywood movies?
Both not.
Both. And Tala or Makkal Selvan?
Tala or Makkal Selvan?
Yeah.
Tough question. Both are good people, but Tala.
Tala. Okay, awesome. And the last question: sleep or workout?
Workout.
Workout. Fabulous, sir. It has been an absolute honor hosting you today. I'm going to quickly wrap in 2 minutes by summarizing some of the points that you shared for the people's benefit, so that in case they missed. So, fixed mindset versus growth mindset. You have spoke about it very clearly. Always to have growth mindset. There is a scientific term, but it has been in practice for a very long time. You spoke about the importance of critical thinking and sociability element as well. How do you know your social strengths to kind of mingle around people? And you recommended a book. I mean, you called out a book of Art of War, knowing your strengths so that you can win. Endless wars. No, not knowing your limitations. That's a beautiful thing you spoke about. So thank you for that. And be patient with self is something that you spoke about. And you did mention about travel and meditation related aspects where you kind of continue to do a self discovery all the time. And smart decisions, you spoke about importance of smart decisions, being an ideal mindset, right frame of mindset, so that your decisions are always impactful. And have stable mind as well is something that you spoke about. In parenting is full-time job, something from Sadhguru that I closely follow as well. Parenting is a full-time job and quite fascinating topic. And I think that itself is a big topic actually to be taught. And there has to be schools for parenting, if you ask me. And children follow us, so therefore it becomes parents' responsibility to become right role models. And you did mention about building resilience and risk-taking environment within the community, because in the school, the time that they spend is probably 20 to 30%, but most of it comes from home. And beautiful thing, personally, I'm going to take it. Parenting is a science, not an art. Usually I saw everywhere parenting is an art, but I think there's a new jargon now. I think parenting is a science, not art. And power comes from within, sir. Beautifully mentioned. It does not come with the external factors. Beautiful thing. Thank you so much for that. Learning can come from anywhere. It need not be limited to few people. And you spoke about being optimistic, passionate, and positive all the time will help you achieve your dreams. Amazing stuff on that. Cautiously kind of use technology. I'm a great believer as well. Technology has to be used and limited to its purpose. That's my tagline actually. And I'm very happy that something like that is spoken. Leading a purposeful life is something which I always follow, sir. And I'm glad you gave a message coming from somebody like you will have a bigger impact. Thank you so much for that. And you did mention about practicing philosophy and spirituality for building a better mindset for the younger generations so that they can strengthen their decision-making power. And life is a cycle. And most importantly, the punchline is don't resist life, allow it to flow. Thank you so much for your time, sir. It has been an absolute honor. And all the very best for We the Foundation, We the Leaders Foundation. I think anywhere if we are part of that journey, kindly please let us know. We are just a phone call away.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I wish you the best. Great interview. I wish you and the whole team all success. Let you go and touch many people's life and impact them positively. Let God be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.